The biggest impact that I find I've had with anybody who I've coached or myself and my family was the Clifton strengths, right? To really know what my strengths are, know how I'm approaching things in the world. And so often when I do this with leaders or teams or just individuals, they'll say things like, do you have a code I could use to give to my spouse, to give to my kids? How old do my kids have to be to do this? Because once they started to see how everyone in their family's strengths were, it
Mhm.
changed their family dynamic. And those conversations in a really good way, right? People will come back to me and say, I understand my husband so much better now. Or I totally understand my child so much better now. I am a better parent. I'm a better spouse. I'm a better girlfriend because of knowing my strengths and their strengths.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Colleen DelVecchio, a keynote speaker, podcast host, and leadership coach who has spent more than 2 decades guiding teams, individuals, and organizations to unlock their full potential. As the founder of Maxady, Colleen has grown her business from a solo venture into a team of certified coaches and trainers, helping leaders and organizations leverage strengths to achieve extraordinary results. She's a Gallup certified Clifton Strengths coach and a seasoned consultant in the women's leadership, organizational change, and strategic development. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Colleen.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming, Colin. I wanted to ask you about your coaching business. Maxady has been around for more than 21 years. I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Yeah, my coaching started back in college. I was lucky enough to work with a professor my senior year who had a specialty in working with professional athletes who had career-ending injuries. So I got to work with the Boston Bruins hockey team that year. And we were in there coaching guys, and this was in the early 90s. And so it was before the players' unions had really kind of gotten involved and to say how important it was to help these athletes transition. And so I started to learn, how do you help people who had one career path when they have to do something totally different that they didn't want. And from there, I worked in so many different nonprofits. I worked in higher ed. And, at one point I started Maxady as a side gig. I was working full time for a college and I had it as my kind of extra money piece. And then about little over 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, I left my full-time job and started running it full-time. So it's been fantastic. And, I have experience coaching all different types of people, but as I grew the business, I made sure to bring on coaches who had different lenses on the world and different experiences so we can really help our clients no matter where they're at and where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. And these coaches are full-time working for you, or they're kind of like associates?
They're associates. They're all part-time. Some of them actually have full-time jobs and they're doing this as kind of a side gig. And then others are ones who this is what they do full-time. They just don't do it full-time for me. So.
And you still do coaching yourself as well, right?
I do. Yes. I keep a small caseload for myself. And then I have the team that I kind of pass everything along to these days.
Cool. I like the setup. And so when thinking about the type of clients that you work with, could we specify a little bit more the ideal client profile? Is there a certain industry, demographic, psychographic? Maybe do they have some common goals or other commonalities?
Sure. We really coach in kind of 2 lanes. So we do executive leadership coaching and we do career coaching. Our career coaching clients tend to be folks. Our most common client is probably someone in their 40s, maybe early 50s, who's realized they've done something for 20 plus years and still have 20 plus years to work and don't want to keep doing it. So our team really works with folks to figure out what they want to do next. And then the other part is our leadership coaching. And so our leadership coaching, we work with C-suite level, senior executives, sometimes vice president level, occasionally senior directors, to really help them figure out how to do their jobs in a way that they leave the day feeling energized from their work, that they are not exhausted all the time. And, some of that has to do with productivity, some of it has to do with their mindset, some of it has to do with how they're approaching. For many of these folks, it's their first time in that C suite level position or that senior leadership position. And we're really there to kind of support them in that transition and help them really learn how to lead their teams well.
Interesting. And I didn't mention this earlier, but we have, when it comes to the podcast, there's two audiences. We have other coaches, but we also have the audiences of the coaches we've had on the show before, which means we might be reaching out to this group of people that you're serving. So to specify the engagement you or your team has with them, and we can cover both the career coaching and the leadership coaching as well. Are there certain programs that you provide, or do they have some program lengths? How would you describe the engagement?
Sure. Our career coaching, we have two main packages that we work with people on. One we call Career Pivot and one Career Reinvention. And Career Pivot is really for those folks who they know what they want to do. They found jobs before in the past. They just can't figure out how to make that pivot right now. And so we help them. It's usually 5-ish sessions. Most people, we hit that goal at 5 sessions and get them on their way to figure out how to do that. Our other package, the Career Reinvention, is a much more wraparound service. That's usually somewhere from 3 to 6 months of coaching, anywhere from 10 to 20 coaching calls. And that's really for the folks who have no idea what they want to do next and really want to spend some time thinking about what it is they want to do and kind of having someone guide them through that process. For our executive coaches, we kind of do things in 2 ways. We have our one-on-one coaching, where people sign up for either 6-month or 1-year coaching with us. And depending on the executive, we know executives are busy, right? C-suite level folks are not sitting around going, oh, I have a free hour today. What should I do with it? So we've learned that these are folks who want quick coaching calls. They want to be able to come on for a half-hour call a couple of times a month. Or sometimes, I had somebody today who I've been doing executive coaching for a couple of years now, who sent me a note and said, do you have 15 minutes today? I just want to talk through something. So those are folks that we tell them they get up to 2 hours of coaching a month and can use it how they want.
Mm-hmm.
But for those groups, we also do group coaching. So we have 2 group programs. We have one called the Confident Manager and the other, the Confident Executive. And both of these are programs that are really set up to teach people the skills they need to do these jobs. Right. So for both of them, folks get a mentor who actually works in the same field as them. So if you're a leader in the banking industry, we connect you with a mentor who is a leader in the banking industry at another organization. And then we get you through all of those skills. So at the manager level, we're teaching people how to do things like, how do you run a meeting, right? How do you actually run a good meeting? And how do you delegate tasks? And then for our executive level program, these are typically folks who are moving up to those C-suite level or moving up to the vice president level. So we start talking about and we teach people how to do things like build strategy, write a strategic plan. How do you communicate vision to your team? So we're really looking at building those skills where they can work together and hear from other people and get that mentor, as well as offering that one-on-one coaching to be able to talk them through specific kind of scenarios that they're dealing with.
This is a very interesting offer. So it's a mixture of coaching and mentorship at the same time.
It is.
And they get both at the same package, or they could actually just apply for one?
Yes, it comes all in that one package for those courses. The mentors are paid. So this isn't you can just talk to somebody occasionally. These are paid mentors who we have found who are leaders in their industry.
Mm-hmm.
And will show up. For most people, they'll get 3 calls with a mentor, sometimes 2 calls. And then if they want more, we can arrange that as well. We have found that that's the part of the program that gets people the most excited, right? That all of a sudden you're able to talk to somebody, right, who's doing your job at a different organization and start to learn, okay, how do we do things differently, right? How can we kind of share some basic skills with each other?
Because sometimes it might come down even to skill issues, right? And so it makes sense to have both, actually. But I haven't seen many coaches do the same, have 2 packages, both coaching and mentorship. So right now, when thinking about the clients for career coaching and leadership or executive coaching, and this is a question that other coaches are going to find useful, is there a certain marketing channel that's working really well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's three places where most of our clients come from. One is I just have a really deep network. My kids always laugh at me. I'm the person who gets off every airplane with a new friend, right? I meet people and talk to people everywhere. It's just who I am. And so through those conversations, I've just built a very deep network. So that's one. The other one has been, I also have a podcast. We have a podcast called Embrace the Squiggle, where we just talk every week with a woman who's changed careers. That podcast is specifically women who have changed careers. And, that's out there in the world. It's out on TikTok. That's probably our biggest place that people are finding us for the career change. For the executive leadership and the more executive coaching, I do a lot of keynote speeches, right? That's definitely one of my favorite things to do personally. And so for our team, I'm out there, this month I have 5 keynotes that I'm doing. And so, or 3 keynotes and 2 presentations technically, but right, I'm out there and I'm presenting and I'm getting on stages and really talking about a variety of topics, but often topics around either change management, burnout, how do leaders really communicate their mission, vision, and values in the world. And so that is where I'd say probably 90% of our clients come from those 3 streams.
So when you say speaking, it's mostly about the executive coaching side of it.
Yes, yeah. And, often after a talk, right, I think of tomorrow, I'm doing a talk to a group of Chamber of Commerce executives. And so from all over our state. And our talk tomorrow is all on how do you manage change when work is changing so quickly. So, right, I'm getting out there talking to leaders about how they can manage change. I'm giving them some tips and ideas, standing on that stage. And right when they leave, my goal is that I have all their email addresses in my system by the time I leave. And they're the folks who eventually reach out for coaching.
And eventually they're warmed up through the system as well. And so I do like the setup. So you mentioned you have associate coaches part-time, and could you explain, because this would be interesting for other coaches who want to scale, what does the team structure look like? Because one of the main challenges that we've seen with coaches when it comes to operations is that they're so busy doing the coaching, especially solopreneurs, they're so busy doing the coaching and there's not a lot of time to actually work on the business. So how is the team structure for you?
Sure. Early on, I realized there are things that I don't like doing. Never mind, am I good at it or not? But there are things that take me way longer to do than somebody else. And so I learned really quickly that I would rather do a couple of extra hours of coaching or do an extra training and pay somebody to do those things. So within our team, we do have a part-time paid coordinator who works 10, 15 hours a week, and they're in charge of a lot of the admin kind of work. They will make changes to slide decks for us. We do a lot of coaching around Gallup Clifton Strengths. They'll get into the Gallup system and print reports and set everything up for us. So we have that side. And then as a team, when new coaching clients come in, either myself or I have one other person who, between the two of us, we do all of the intake calls. So we'll do a 20-minute intro call, who you are, what are you looking for, right? And then we will send them the bios of usually 3 coaches on our team and say, here are the 3 people we think are the best fit for you, and ask them if they would like to meet any of them or all of them. Most people will meet 2 folks. That's we recommend they meet 2 because I think, you're going to talk to multiple people. I'd like you to talk to 2 people and decide who's a coach that you can actually mesh with or gel with. There's not a coach out there who can say that they've loved every single client that they've worked with or that every client was a good match for them. So this is a way for us to kind of help that out. And so, then the client will do those 2 kind of quick meet and greets, 20-minute calls. We use Calendly to set all those up, and we kind of go from there. The client will then choose who they want to work with.
Yeah, that is a great setup. They will get to choose. So it gives them also an opportunity to choose the right coach as well. And so when looking at your coaching business looking to the future for the next 1 to 3 years, do you have any specific business goals you're working towards, given that you have opportunity to work on the business too?
Yeah, it's been really fun. For me, my co-host of my podcast, we've just written a book, and so we're getting that out there. So that's another goal, is to kind of continue part 2 of that book. For me, it's getting to be on more stages. In an ideal world, I'm out doing keynotes every week and everybody else is doing the other work. I definitely love that piece. And I think as a team, we've put some really good procedures in place. I think if we start to grow bigger and bigger, we're going to have to get, operations has to follow along, right? You're never going to grow and scale if you don't have the right operations.
So
Right.
operations is also kind of like a bottleneck right now, right?
I don't think it's a bottleneck for us right now for the size we are. I think we have some kind of good systems in place, but right, I feel like every time we grow or every time new things start to come our way, all of a sudden, like when we started the podcast, we had to all of a sudden change our operations and change our systems and figure out new ways to do things. So I think it's just staying on top of that.
Interesting, and I like that. Yeah, it's definitely as the business grows, the operations probably most likely have to change as well and be optimized. So when thinking of challenges, then you also have this book, which, by the way, is it out already?
It is not out yet. We're hopefully getting the final edit next week, and then we're close.
Okay, so I was wondering if we want to mention the name of the book too.
Sure. Yeah. It's our podcast is Embrace the Squiggle, and our book is Embrace Your Squiggle. So
Embrace Your Squiggle. Okay, by the time this goes up, potentially, maybe the book has gone out too. And yeah, great, awesome. So right now, when thinking about like the book, being on more stages, doing more speaking events, and like the operation side of it, where do you see the actual bottleneck with your business right now? We talked about operations, but that was not really a bottleneck.
Yeah. I think of the thing that I dislike doing the most and always feel like I need to do more is business development.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The traditional, what I think of more traditional business development, right? Reaching out to companies, kind of making those connections. A lot of the executive coaching we have there with companies that we have a long-standing relationship with, and so they will send 5 employees through our coaching program every year or things like that. So I think it's building that, because it's the thing I don't have time for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I feel like it's more of the, what do you run out of time to do? And at the end of the week, the thing I run out of time to do is, right, one more post, one more reach out.
Mm-hmm.
I always think if I could pay for one more staff person, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably who I'd hire.
And so when we say business development, are you talking about getting more clients to join? Or are you thinking about like optimizing the offer in a way that you can service more clients within the same company? What does that look like? Or is it all together, marketing?
It's probably all together, right? We have an online class that we've done. We have an asynchronous and a synchronous version of the class that we've done. I feel like we've done all those things. I think it's kind of advertising, marketing, and the follow-up from that, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I can get that advertising marketing out. I just run out of time. I have my ongoing list of all the people I want to follow up with in the world and all the ideas, and right, week after week can go by and I just don't get to that follow-up
Mm-hmm.
because 900 other things come my way.
Yeah, it is definitely a challenge. And so, like you said, it's not also something that you like to do either.
Right.
It's been the case for most coaches, actually, that I've talked with. Generally, marketing and sales is not something they prefer to do. It's just something they do. And it's not even about being good or bad at it. It's just like don't want to do it.
Right. It gets put off, right? And I've learned my lesson, right? I hired someone to do my website. I hired someone to do my branding. I tried to do all those things myself in the beginning before I had money to pay people to do them. And it's one of those things I always say, you learn your lessons quickly as an entrepreneur, that there are people who are better at things than you are. And so figuring out how to pay other people to do those things is,
Yeah.
to me, one of just the most important things to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you also about the team structure, because not many coaches that I've interviewed have a good team structure in place. Many of them will start with the VA, which is still a good first step, getting a VA to help you out. It does free up some of the time as well. So to change the topic a little bit, I wanted to ask you about investments as well as a coach in your coaching business. What have been some investments that you feel really good about? Either you learned a lot or got a good return from, and what have been some investments that you don't feel so good about or you wish you had not done those investments? And it could be investments of time and money or both.
I think from a little bit of time and money piece is getting the Gallup certification. I'm a big fan of Gallup Clifton Strengths and the kind of strengths mindset. I've paid for 2 coaches on our team to get certified, and it's pretty expensive. It's not cheap, and so it's something that's important to us as a team, important to me because it's how I approach things. So to me, that's always been a good investment. From, I think, a not so good investment, I think in the beginning, I had hired one company to do my branding and website, and I didn't really love it, but I kept believing them that, and I knew my gut instinct was that this wasn't a good look for me,
Mm,
but I kept letting them go because they were the experts. And so fast forward 2 years later, I ended up paying someone a second time to do
yeah.
branding for me and redo my website and all of that piece. And so, I think that was a lesson in really paying attention to my gut instinct, right? Knowing that
Hmm.
I know what my business is about and not listening to other people tell me what it's about.
Hmm. We like to think about it like, can we measure results out of it? It's not even about guts, but is this actually producing anything that can be measurable? So, yeah, when thinking about scaling too, there's a lot of coaches that I've interviewed that are driven by impact. They want to make a bigger impact in the world as a coach, especially when working with leaders. You do get to make a very big impact because you're working with them. They have their own teams. You kind of like it ripples down to the whole company and then their families as well. And I believe you're kind of driven by impact too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, is there any advice you'd like to give to coaches who want to scale their impact? Could actually be an advice you give to yourself.
I mean, for me, the biggest impact that I find I've had with anybody who I've coached or myself and my family was the Clifton strengths, right? To really know what my strengths are, know how I'm approaching things in the world. And so often when I do this with leaders or teams or just individuals, they'll say things like, "Do you have a code I could use to give to my spouse, to give to my kids? How old do my kids have to be to do this?" Because once they started to see how everyone in their family's strengths were, it
Hmm.
changed their family dynamic. And those conversations in a really good way, right? People will come back to me and say, "I understand my husband so much better now." Or I totally understand my child so much better now. I am a better parent. I'm a better spouse. I'm a better girlfriend because of knowing my strengths and their strengths. And when I get those emails, those are my favorite ones to get, right? I mean, I've worked with people where I've, quote unquote, helped them save their job because they thought they were going to get fired. Or I've worked with people where they knew they were getting fired and, they used my services to find something new. And those are all great. But when people come back and say, "This has impacted my life, this is more than just my job, like this has really changed how I approach things."
Hmm.
And I will say a lot of the coaches on our team, even the ones who weren't familiar with strengths before they kind of came on board, have said the same things. Like now that they know how they approach things and what their strengths are, it makes such a difference in how they go through their day to day.
Absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Colleen, for the amazing advice. And thank you for coming to the podcast today. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn and look up Colleen DelVecchio. They'll be able to find your profile. They can also go into the website maxady.com, which we will put also into our description so people can find it easily. Is there any other way people can connect with you or reach out to you?
I mean, I laugh at TikTok because I feel like I'm such an old lady, but we're on TikTok as Embrace the Squiggle. And that is, I mean, I think we're up to 15,000 followers on TikTok who
Hmm.
are pretty active. So it makes me chuckle, but because
That's
my
great.
I have 2 daughters who are 21 who make fun of me fairly regularly about the fact that, we are quote unquote TikTok influencers or, we got our creator mode badge. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I like TikTok. It's not a lot of coaches that are utilizing TikTok, especially thinking, I don't know, in your case, is it the career coaching that gets more value out of TikTok or is it the leadership coaching?
yeah, I mean, the majority of the things that we put on TikTok are focused on the Embrace the Squiggle kind of side, which is the career coaching, right? It's
I
all
see.
about
Okay.
the career coaching. And we do throw stuff about leadership because leadership does meld, but
Hmm.
with careers, but that one is really much more focused on really kind of putting advice out there on how do you find a job? How do you find, sometimes we've even talked about how do you find a good coach, right?
Mhm.
We talk about some of that on TikTok of how do you decide a coach is the right one or the wrong one for you?
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. I was just thinking, like, are the executives on TikTok or not? And I'm not really sure about that,
I'm
so
not
that's why I
sure.
wanted to
Yeah.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thank
My
you. Thank
posts
you
for
for
executives are much more on LinkedIn. That's definitely where I
yeah.
focus that more.
There's absolutely executives on LinkedIn. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Colleen. It's been lovely to have you on the show.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.